Good day, everyone. Welcome to Blacklogic. Unfortunately, some of the things I've been claiming on this channel have absolutely been 100% correct because major U.S. airports face massive delays as the government shutdown cripples air traffic staffing because now they're basically operating at 50%. And Trump says that some furloughed workers don't deserve back pay, igniting outrage across federal ranks. And we'll get into the legislation that he actually signed into law in 2019, affording those people who are furloughed essential workers to receive back pay. And James Comey is headed to court indicted for allegedly lying under oath against President Trump that has him to be 33 to 34 convictions. Texas National Guard troops are spotted in Chicago, training in the suburbs, but no one knows why. I believe we all do. They're going to be part of this raid of Chicago to decrease the crime, allegedly, that the president states that is an uptick. Now, Stephen Miller, back in the news again, drops the phrase plenary authority on CNN, then freezes, coincides, or power play. And we're going to get into the terminology of all these things, ladies and gentlemen. And I just wish that Lord have mercy on our souls. So with the federal shutdown dragging on, the U.S. airports are already feeling the pain because staffing gaps at the FAA and the air traffic centers are causing thousands of delays, flights at major hubs like Chicago, O'Hare, Dallas, Houston, and Newark. And what's worse, some controls towers have gone dark, literally gone dark due to absentee people not showing up, forcing rerouting and ground holds and even remote management of airspace. And passengers are stuck in limbo, waiting, unsure, and paying the cost of breakdown at the top. And as I stated this, ladies and gentlemen, that this was going to occur because there's going to be some workers saying, why would I come into work and I'm not getting paid? Even though they have the authorization to use some of their leave as well as some of their vacation and sick days. This is what a lot of the people are doing, but they're not showing up to work. A lot of the air traffic control towers are only 50% manned. And now it's calling a safety hazard in the skies for basically a lot of cancellation in a lot of the major airports. And President Trump has stirred outrage by suggesting that some furloughed federal workers don't deserve back pay. We're talking about air traffic controllers, FAA, TSA, and all therein. And President stating that, yeah, some of these guys don't even deserve back pay. We live in a capitalist society, ladies and gentlemen, and for the president to say such a thing, him being a billion-dollar businessman, to state that they don't deserve back pay, you mean now they're working for free? Is this modern-day slavery of federal workers? You still expect them to come in and do their job and they're not going to get back paid? Who would show up to work in those conditions? This isn't just this tough talk. The White House has circulated a legal memo arguing that back pay isn't guaranteed unless Congress explicitly funds it. And as I told you before, this actually contradicts a 2019 law many assumed that would protect workers during shutdowns. And the move is being read as intimidation by the Trump administration, punishing those deemed underserving while forcing compliance through fear. And maybe I'm not the right, person to give you this information, so I'll let the president chime in on this.
Workers should be paid for their back pay.
I would say it depends on who we're talking about. I can tell you this, the Democrats have put a lot of people in great risk and jeopardy, but it really depends on who you're talking about. But for the most part, we're going to take care of our people. There are some people that really don't deserve to be taken care of, and we'll take care of them in a different way.
And why do you say some federal workers should not get their back pay? Why do you say some?
Well, you're going to have to figure that out, okay? Ask the Democrats that question.
Mr. President, just
And what in the hell are we talking about? The president is making demands, making statements and claims, and then with a reporter who's for the news asked him what federal workers you deem or believe do not deserve back pay. You'll have to figure that out. You'll have to figure that out. You need to ask the Democrats. Wait a minute. You made a statement stating that some federal workers don't deserve back pay. Then all of a sudden, you need to answer that question for yourself. You need to ask the Democrats, lady, this is the foolery that we're dealing with. This is outrageous. And again, I'm not going to back down on some of the things that I stated. That some of the things, not a lot, some of the things that the Trump administration is doing, I can see long-term can benefit America. But there's been a lot of tomfoolery going on in this administration, ladies and gentlemen, and everybody, right, left, center, blue, black, green, white, purple, I don't know. Everybody needs to speak out of it because it's totally outlandish. He's actually contradicting something that he passed into law, stating that federal workers and furloughed workers should be back paid. Because again, it says here that the White House memo argues furloughed workers not guaranteeing back pay, right? I want to bring this to you guys' attention. It said a draft memo of the Office of Management and Budget is raising the possibility that furloughed workers may not be entitled to back pay from their time off during the government shutdown, and nobody knows why. And the Government Employee Fair Treatment Act of 2019, which President Trump signed during the last government shutdown. Let's look at this particular legislation right here, ladies and gentlemen. President Trump is the one that signed this into law. And it clearly states, okay, it clearly states this bill requires employees of the federal government and or the District of Columbia public employer who are furloughed or required to work during a lapse in appropriations beginning on or after December 22nd of 2018 to be compensated for the period of the lapse, meaning that there's no budget that's being signed, you guys are furloughed, you go home, or you're an essential worker and you still have to work because if not, the infrastructure of America will just fall, but we'll back pay you guys. It goes on to say that the employees must be compensated on the earliest date possible after the lapse ends, regardless of scheduled pay dates. Employees required to work during the lapse in appropriation may use leave, okay? They may use their leave, meaning that's paid time off as well, because anytime you work for the government, you use your PTO or your leave, then you have, you're getting paid during that time. Now, some people are going to argue that that President Trump stated that those people will be taken care of differently. What do you mean taken care of differently? We live in a capitalist society. Money talks. Money talks. I don't know what else, how you're going to take care of them because you say, oh, well, they give them extra days off. Well, extra days off requires for you to pay me. Extra days off without pay, I might as well come to work. I want you guys to hear that again. They're going to take care of them differently.
I can tell you this, the Democrats have put a lot of people in great risk and jeopardy, but it really depends on who you're talking about. But for the most part, we're going to take care of our people. There are some people that really don't deserve to be taken care of, and we'll take care of them in a different way.
Okay, what does that mean, President Trump? What do you mean by you'll take care of them in a different way? You're going to fire them? You're going to send them home packing? You'll give them a severance of pay? You're going to hire new people? Who and what group of federal employees that are being furloughed and deemed essential workers that you're going to take care of differently? There's a lot of loopholes, and there's going to be so many apologetic people that come out on President Trump's side. Well, Blacklogic, you don't understand because the president, he moves differently. He's very different than any other president. They're going to make excuses. Then have him to be very clear and not having his pundits to interpret what he means or what he says, because none of this makes any sense. To any sensible person with a brain, this doesn't make any sense that the president is now telling the news, you need to answer that question for yourself. And better yet, go ahead and ask the Democrats. You're the president. You're the one stating it. Why can't you answer the damn question?
Why do you say some federal workers should not get their back pay? Why do you say some?
Well, you're going to have to figure that out. Okay. Ask the Democrats that question.
Mr. President.
This is straight crazy, ladies and gentlemen. I don't even have words to speak about it, where our president is the one who signed this legislation into law, stating that Government Employee Fair and Treatment Act, that they will get back pay. Is right here in the text. This is federal law. This is legislation that are signed into law. Now they're stating that, you know what, some of them don't even deserve to get back pay, and we're handling them differently. It states right here, Mr. President, in legislation you signed in 2019, that employees must be compensated on the earliest date possible at the lapse end, regardless of scheduled pay and dates. What are we talking about? I think there's nothing left up to interpretation. Now, we all know that President Trump is coming for any and everyone who has said or done anything he deems egregious against him. Because now former FBI Director James Comey is now facing a courtroom showdown after being indicted on charges of making false statements about President Trump. And the case pits Trump's Justice Department squarely against a once powerful law enforcement figure, and the indictment raises very serious questions. Is this a genuine drive for accountability or a political weaponization of justice? Whose rule of law is this really under? Again, he's going after every single person that he deems that went against him during all the indictments, especially the FBI director at the time. This is lunacy. This is straight crazy, ladies and gentlemen. I don't even understand why this is still going on. I have no idea. And this may be all thrown out the window, but these are fear tactics, in my opinion, that the president is doing. These are fear tactics that he's doing. I just wonder what else is next. Because now we have federal troops. Okay, federal troops presence there in Texas. They're in Chicago, but they're the Texas National Guard. And they've been spotted training in Chicago suburb. And this comes amid attempt to federalize guard units for order operations in U.S. cities. And the optics are heavy. Soldiers are arriving near a major city with law enforcement, local governments, and residents all left guessing. The question is, whose orders and when does it end? And to what end? And later, ladies and gentlemen, either this evening or tomorrow, I'm going to release my special edition on ICE. I've been working on this special edition of ICE because ICE has been unhinged. There's a lot of stories about ICE that the regular public hasn't been privy to. You have to really dive into people's personal account of, video clippings and videos of how ICE is treating American citizens on American soil. And I'll just leave that for the special edition. I hope you guys tune in, because next we're back on Stephen Miller. Because in a CNN interview, Stephen Miller suddenly froze while invoking the phrase plenary authority. Plenary authority, ladies and gentlemen, as if revealing a power play, then pulling back mid-sentence. And this is the glitch. I don't think he meant to say that very publicly. I don't think he did that, because that glitch has become a flashpoint. Plenary means total unchecked power. This is authoritarianism. This is a dictatorship. This is what Stephen Miller has been getting at the entire time. The question is, was this a fraudulent slip or a warning? Either way, it's a moment that really lays bare the administration's ambitions and its frugality when probed. When being questioned, these guys let the cat out the bag. They just can't hold with the true ploy and plot of this administration, and people who are connected to it are really in bed with. I want you guys to listen in and read with me. It says that Miller said that under Title 10 of the U.S. Code, the president has plenary authority, has before making an abrupt stop. He stopped after he stated that. Miller blinked several times with anchor Boris Sanchez calling out his name, though he still not respond. Stephen, I apologize. It seems like we're having technical issues. All of a sudden, when he make that phrase, and they know exactly what that phrase means. Sanchez said before the show to cut a break and resume after, with Sanchez saying some wires got crossed. And the interview with Miller continued, but neither Sanchez nor Miller brought up plenary authority again. CNN did not immediately respond when asked by Time for comment on what exactly the technical issue was. What was the technical issue? Well, Stephen Miller said some things he shouldn't have said publicly. That was the technical issue. Now, that's me inputting that last verb there. That is not what they said. That is what I'm saying, because all of a sudden he says such an egregious and straight out authoritarian phrase like plenary authority, and now they're having the technical issues. Boy, legacy media is going down the drain. It goes on to state that the brief moment sparked controversy online over Miller's use of the phrase plenary authority, which Cornell University's Legal Information Institute defines as power that is wide-ranging, broadly construed, and often limitless for all practical purposes. Ladies and gentlemen, these are the times that we're living in, and guys like Stephen Miller, who is allegedly a white supremacist, know exactly what's going on. Whether it be the conjointment of Agenda 47 with Project 2025 or what we see every day in front of our eyes. I wonder how many people are going to go down with the captain, aka President Trump, and some of the egregious, non-legal, illegal things that he's doing in our government. See, there's the things that a lot of people can get on board with, the deportation or mass deportation of illegal immigrants. But as I stated yesterday, the way that this administration is going about it, we're now living in a military state. I mean, basically, there's martial law on America. We have National Guard troops that are infiltrating urban America. We have ICE and federalized ICE agents in all parts of America. But you know what they're not touching? They're not touching the 1% of the filthy rich in America. They're not touching the 10%. They're not touching the upper high class, and they're not touching the upper middle class. They're not going into neighborhoods. They're going into urban environments, sitting environments where they're calling hotbeds and basically terrorizing not just people who possibly are illegal in the country, but citizens as well. American citizens are getting wrapped up in the foolishness of this administration. There's a better way to handle this, ladies and gentlemen, and this administration doesn't have a damn clue.